In this video, I'm talking about how I wrote a 55-page manual about how to get free travel that I never released. I'm going to talk about the reason I never released it, and most importantly, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to reveal a much better alternative. And you might be asking, well, what's better than free travel? How about actually getting paid to travel? So stick around to the end and I'll show you exactly how to do it. But before we get into it, let me just show you the proof that I actually wrote this thing. Come on. All right, so as you can see, I put a lot of effort into this. It's 55 pages. The design it's really solid. I spent over a month on the design alone of this project. Look at this, how to pitch for exchange, basically how to find the right people, how to find the ideal contact, what to do once you heard back, all that kind of stuff, even a case study of something I've actually pitched before in the past. I even have scripts of exactly what to say in order to get these free exchange. And basically it's just a manual of exactly what to do if you want to start getting free travel. But I never released it, and there's a reason why. So if I'm completely honest, I was actually planning on selling this for 50 bucks a pop. And if you look at my Instagram following, at least at the time when I was gonna release this like 2.5 years ago, I had over 100,000 followers on Instagram. So you can probably do the math that was gonna be a really solid payday, especially once I started ripping it with ads, because you can just scale it infinitely. And there's a huge amount of people that would probably wanna buy this stuff, but probably including you if you're looking at this video. But then I realized something far more important than just making a quick buck. See, I didn't not release this book because it wasn't good information. Like, honestly, this is the stuff that I used to get free travel from starting in like 2018, 2019, all the way through to you could use these tactics today to start getting free travel. It's literally just the scripts and the exact wording that I would use to get free jobs where I could basically just go on vacation for free. So it's not that the information wasn't good. That's not why I didn't release it. The actual reason that I never released this is because the information in this book is dangerous. Dangerous? How could this be dangerous? It's just traveling for free, right? Well, it's actually harmful to two different groups of people. The first one is the content creation industry as a whole, and the second one is you as a content creator. And I'm going to talk about why it's harmful to both of those groups. So the first one is it's harmful to the content creation industry in general. So let's break this down. When you do free work for a brand or a resort or a tourism board or whatever it might be, it starts to train those brands and resorts to expect it, meaning that in the future, when they want a similar quality of work, they will expect someone to be willing to do it for free. And guess what? You're not the only creator that is extremely good at what they do. There's probably tons of other creators that are at least equally as talented, if not better than you, that are willing to do it for free. And unfortunately, because so many people are willing to do it for free, the brands start to expect people to want to do it for free, and therefore the budgets go downhill and it starts to become a race to the bottom, meaning that even if you wanted to get paid, because they know that other people will be willing to do it for free, they won't even want to pay you because they know that they can get quality work for cheap or essentially free. So you may have heard that and you might just be thinking to yourself, like, I don't really care about that. I just want to go to a dope hotel or a dope location. Like, it really doesn't matter to me. But you're thinking short term, because in the short term, sure, yeah, you got a free vacation. That's awesome. But long term, this matters because guess what? Eventually, you're going to have to pay your bills, and you can't pay your bills with a free collab at a hotel, right? You have to pay your bills with actual money, meaning you actually have to get paid for these jobs in order to make it sustainable for yourself. Otherwise, you won't even be able to do this beyond the first few months because you have to be able to afford your lifestyle. So that being said, this is kind of obvious, but when you work for free, it's not actually a job because you're not getting paid. But the content that you create for the brand, in most cases, they can use for whatever the heck they want, because it comes back to contracts and licensing, which I'm going to talk about here in just a second. So let's bring this back. What do you tangibly get out of this deal, right? You get a few free nights at a resort, potentially, let's say 2 or 3 nights. And let's say it's even a luxury resort. It costs like $1,000 a night. So let's just say, for example's sake, that the amount of value you're receiving tangibly is about $3,000. Now, the amount of money that the brand is actually spending is not $3,000 because likely it's a larger hotel, which means they have a lot of rooms and they wouldn't let you be staying there unless that room was vacant to begin with, meaning no one was actually paying to be there anyways. It's not like they kick someone out for you to be there. So all they're paying for is for a housekeeper. They're paying 15 bucks an hour for them to clean the room after you. And then maybe in some cases, they'll give you a little bit of food and beverage credit. That's all you get. So in reality, they're paying maybe 100 bucks for you to stay there, like barely anything, right? But the value that they receive is they have your content essentially in perpetuity in a lot of cases that they can use for literally whatever they want to make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into the future as long as they possibly want. The amount of value that you get, although it is cool to go to a resort and like have the free experience, is minuscule in compared to the value that they get potentially out of working with you, and they didn't even pay you. It's genius on their end, and you are getting taken advantage of, and the industry as a whole is also getting taken advantage of as a result, because when it harms a single creator, it also harms the entire industry, and it lowers the standards of everyone involved, meaning that they'll just take the next person that's willing to do it for free. So that's why I'm making this video, because I want to stop that. But more importantly, number two, it harms you as a creator. So let me give you a tangible example, because what happens when you position yourself as someone who is willing to do work for free, brands talk and it will make it much more difficult for you to get paid in the future. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I, as a creator, go out and I do some work for a Hilton, work for free. Essentially, I give them 30 photos in a 60-second video, which is not uncommon for a lot of these free collab projects, but let's just say that that is the deliverables and I did it for free. They had an awesome experience. They loved the content. Maybe they even used it on their socials or for ads. And obviously I have no say in that because I did it for free, but they're doing it, right? So then, say a month down the line, I find another Hilton that I want to work with. And I reach out and I said, hey, I worked with this other Hilton. We had an amazing experience, yada, yada. We start having this conversation. I say, I'll do X amount of deliverables for $10,000. The brand gets back to me and they say, okay, that sounds interesting. We'll get back to you here in a few days. What did they do over the course of those few days? Well, because a lot of these corporations are interconnected, they can contact other marketing managers at these other resorts, right? Or even if they're not in the same corporation, a lot of these marketing managers bounce from hotel to hotel to hotel, and you start to build this network where, you know, a lot of them actually know each other and they start to have these conversations because their job is to optimize the marketing budget that they have to get the most results for the least amount of money, right? That's what the marketing manager's goal is. So what do? Well, the one I'm talking to, they go to the one that I worked with in the past and they're like, hey, what were the deliverables? What did the job look like that the Nash did for you in the past? I'll be like, oh yeah, he gave us 30 photos in a 60-second video. We've been using it for ads. It's been performing really well. They're like, okay, cool. What'd you pay him? Oh yeah, he just did it for free. Like he was totally willing to do it for free. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So a few days pass, they come back to me. They're like, hey, appreciate the offer, but honestly, we don't have a budget at this time. So all we can offer is a free stay. In exchange, would you be willing to do those 30 photos and 60-second video in exchange for a free stay? So I, as a creator, hear that. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. They don't have a budget, which by the way, they do, but because you've done work in the past for free, now they don't because they know that you're going to be working for free. So I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. Well, maybe I'll just discount myself and maybe they'll be willing to do that, which by the way, never do that. Never just discount yourself for no reason. Let's just say, for example, I do. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can just do it for $3,000. How does that work? They respond and they're like, honestly, we just don't have the budget for this. So either, you know, you can do it as a free exchange or like, it's just not going to work for us. So then you're in a position where you either have to be strong and say no, right? Where you position yourself as somebody that will not take free work anymore and potentially probably lose that opportunity to do that work for free, right? Which honestly isn't a loss because you would be working for free, but let's just say in your mind, sometimes it could be a loss because you're like, oh, that'd be a cool vacation or whatever, but you lose that in the short term and that potentially sets you up to be able to do paid work in the future. So that's the first option. The second option is you're like, yeah, you know, you're right. That would be cool. I'll just do it for free in a free exchange. And then you go down the rabbit hole because again, you just accepted another free project. So now this person understands that you'll take free projects. And now their entire network, when they reach out, they'll be like, yeah, Nash is just the guy that's willing to do it for free. Like he offered 10 grand and he immediately just said they'll do it for free. Like no questions asked. And it was pretty much the easiest deal ever. Just save 10 grand and we're now running these as ads. So that's what happens when you start positioning yourself as the person who will do this for free. You completely shoot yourself in the foot. And it kind of goes without saying that you can't support yourself or your future family off of free gigs. Like eventually you have to be able to get paid for this stuff. Otherwise you're just going to have to pick another job because it's not sustainable. But the problem is the stuff I talk about in this book is great for getting free collabs. Like if you want to just travel for free, it's amazing for that. But in terms of actually getting paid, it's a completely different game. And the stuff I talk about in this book is not the skills that you need to actually land paid deals. So to get free jobs, literally just if you have like 100,000 followers or you have decent content, it's pretty easy. It's almost a shoe-in to get those free jobs. But in order to get paid, brands have to understand that the money they're paying you will actually result in an ROI, meaning you actually have to have tangible value. You have to position yourself correctly. You have to understand how to message yourself. They understand the value that you're bringing, right? Because they can hire anybody they want. So why would they hire you? Then once you have that conversation, you have to know how to run sales calls because typically on these free collabs, it's all done through the DMs or emails. You don't actually get somebody on a phone call. But when it comes to actually getting paid, all that happens face to face. Like you have to have a Zoom call or a Google Meet or something like that. You have to understand how to actually run that. Then assuming you actually close that client, you have to have a seamless sales and onboarding and production process. Because if you don't have that, then you end up losing them as a client, right? Because high-end brands expect a high-end experience from their vendors. And if you don't have that, then guess what? You're not going to get hired again. And it's going to be a less than stellar experience because everyone else they hire and they're paying money for actually have that, but you don't. And then the main thing to just understand is that brands are not charities. They're there to make money. And if they can see how hiring you will make them more money, then of course they'll want to pay for it. But they're not just going to pay you just because you say that you can create a nice video for them. Like that's not what they're there for. They're not a charity. They're there to make money. And if you can show them how you can make them money, then they'll be more than willing to pay, assuming that you can show them the value. Then the last thing I want to touch on real quick on how it actually harms you as a creator to take on free gigs is because most of these contracts are extremely harmful to the creator and extremely beneficial to the brand that's offering. Let me explain. So when you don't understand the contracts, clients can slip in things like licensing in perpetuity throughout the universe for whatever purposes they can possibly think of. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to see your content on a billboard or in an ad or in a TV commercial, because guess what? When you signed the contract, you signed away your rights. So they can use your content for whatever they want. And all they did was give you a free room at a hotel, and you just signed away all of your rights because you didn't understand what was in the contract. So again, you get taken advantage of. The value you get is minuscule in compared to the value that the brand gets. They would not take this deal if it was not beneficial to them. And you shouldn't take the deal because it's not beneficial for you. So hopefully I've shown you at this point why taking free work sucks and why it's terrible as a business choice for your content creation business. But then the question is, well, what's the alternative? The alternative is actually getting paid to travel. Now, again, the process of getting free work is extremely easy in compared to the process for getting paid work. But when you understand the process for getting paid work, it's actually just as easy. It's just completely different. So let's just assume you have your portfolio in place to start getting paid work. It actually only takes 3 steps in order to get paid work and 1 step that I'm going to talk about in order to retain those clients. So the first step is offer and messaging. You have to understand how to position yourself as somebody who is necessary for the brand to succeed. You have to create that FOMO, that fear of missing out, that competition. Make them feel like they need you, because honestly, they do. They might not just realize it yet. So that's the first step. The second step is how to find the leads, how to find the people that you need to talk to. But more importantly than that, how to meet them with a message of exactly what they need at that specific time in their business, right? Because finding the right person, finding the right brand, that's one thing, but actually speaking to their core desire is a completely different story. So brands are run by people, marketing managers are people, and people have goals within businesses, right? So the marketing manager has a boss. What is that boss wanting them to do? Typically, there's sales quotas. There's certain ROAS that they have to hit. They have to hit a certain amount of occupancy or whatever the goal is. The marketing manager has to hit that. And if their current content is not hitting that for them, that's a problem, right? Their boss is riding them on that. So that's a pain point. So if you can help them reach that goal that they need to reach in order to get their boss off their case, then that is something that's an imminent need that they actually need, right? That's a pain point that you can physically solve with your content, but you have to position yourself that way. So again, it's not just finding the right person, but it's how do you actually speak to that person's ultimate core desire so that you can elicit a response. Now, once you've elicited a response, that's just step 1. You got to get them on a call and actually run them through a process so that you can close them for a paid deal. So how do you do that? Well, you have to have a framework that's repeatable that you could even teach to someone in the future if you so desire, so that you don't have to do it yourself. The framework that I personally use is called the Storytelling Sales Framework. I just think it's easy to understand. You can use whatever framework you want, but it's got to be repeatable and it's got to be a system that you run clients through, because if you don't have that, then you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no repeatable process, and then you don't really have a business. You just have a, I don't even know what that is. It's not a business because it's not repeatable. You don't have specific actions that result in specific outcomes, so that you can just do more of the actions to receive more of the outcomes. It's not a machine, it's just a whatever. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully this works, right? You're using hope as a strategy versus actually a system. But I digress. So the whole entire point of closing a client is so that you can get more clients and get them to pay higher rates, and not only pay higher rates, but actually be excited to pay you those higher rates. So that's ultimately what we're after. And then once you have them signed on as a client, the next step is that client journey. How's your contract and invoicing? How are your kickoff calls, your mood boards, like your client communication in general? Is it high end? Is it a high end experience? If not, you're not going to have a good time retaining that client. It's got to be a high end experience for those clients to stay with you, because guess what? The pros are giving them a high end experience. And if you want to be a professional, you have to be there with them. So if you're sitting there thinking like, man, I don't have any of those things, or I only have a few of those things, that's likely the reason that you are stuck. That's why you have low paying clients, not enough of them, they're high maintenance, and you feel burnt out where you're not making enough money and you're working way too much to the point where you're like, why am I even doing this? I may as well get a job because this is way too much effort and just too much hassle and I'm not making enough. So if that's you and you actually want to make a career out of your creative passion, go ahead and check out the link in the description below and book in a call with me, where we'll see if you are fit for my Paid to Create program, where I'll teach you how to use precision prospecting to land your dream clients and get them to pay you the amount you actually should be paid. No more free collabs, no more trying to convince, no more discounting, none of that, and actually pursue the freedom that you want in your business. So if that sounds like you, go ahead and check out the link in the description below, and I cannot wait to talk to you. Other than that, if this video was was interesting for you, you're definitely going to want to check out my reels on my Instagram, because I post a lot of stuff that I don't post here on YouTube. It's super helpful for a lot of creators just like you. So go ahead and follow my Instagram at Nash Hagen. Feel free to shoot me a DM if you have any questions, and we'll start the conversation. Further than that, if this video was valuable for you, I have a ton more practical videos like this on my channel. So go ahead and check out the rest of the videos. Subscribe if you want to get notified when all these videos drop, because I'm dropping 2 a week now, at least at this stage. Give this video a like, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Peace.